Oh, hello everybody, this is Dusty Circuit here, and I'm here to bring hopefully the last few episodes of I'm here to bring the last few episodes of my series kind of on my history on ACO. And I super apologize, but I've kind of just for not uploading very much. Just I've been busy with a lot of things and a lot of things on ACO, and let's just say I've had a dilemma that's made it difficult, if not impossible, for me to play on ACO. But now things are finally starting to get better, and yeah. But so I've more or less covered most of ACO's history by this point, and now we're more or less just in the kind of the modern era of ACO. But I guess one thing I haven't really talked that much about in the previous videos is that ACO is not only is this different from Autcraft, and not only how this what the rules are on the server, but of course we're very different from AC in that we also have a Discord server that most players actually use. It's like, of course, where Autcraft mostly has the forums. ACO, like ACO has a forum too on Engine, but it's very like unless for when new players want to join, it's hardly ever used. And I mean, once new players join, that they're urged to join ACO's Discord, and that's basically where our all of our social talk that's not in game happens, and it's basically where all the announcements for whether it be events or whether it be server events uh, or wither fights or new areas being built, or it's just basically it's basically our social platform. and and of course over the years we've kind of had channels added, and nowadays we pretty much have a separate channel for pretty much every topic under the sun. It's like we have like it's like we have a tech channel, like a channel for tech talk, like a lot of there's a lot of people talk about like there's like anything, like if it's about phones or computers or whatever, anything to do with technology, it's you go in there, because the majority of our player base don't even know their bottom from their elbow when it comes to tech. Of course, I can't say the other word because of Autcraft and I have to be clean, but you know. And of course, and then there's also like a memes and gifs channel. These for people, because it's like during the revival period, let's just say like the Discord, let's say, I guess anarchy is a bit of a harsh word for it, but let's just say it's like basically ACO, the Discord was just not structured in the slightest, and of course as ACO began to grow, there were different players coming on, And of course we got players that come for totally different reasons. Like some of us come here to actually play on the server and because we play Minecraft. But then there's other players that come because they just want to socialize and they don't necessarily play Minecraft. They're into other things. And I mean, I very much, I respect those people, but that's not exactly me. Like, I'm here to play Minecraft. And I mean, like, by now, like, I have kind of diversified into playing other games, but you know, back in the revival period, I'm here to play Minecraft, and in fact, I'm one of the more serious players that there is. And of course, when there's tons of other players around that come to talk about school or sports or even like hairstyling or food or you know any of those other kind of topics. It's just you just kind of feel like alienated because it's not your thing, and you know just it should be like outnumbered by other people that aren't like in common. You don't have things in common with, and you know I've been there before, and it's not exactly fun. But at least nowadays, whereas we have the certain channels for like for tech and for gaming, and and those actually help me quite a lot. Like to find friends and I can actually have conversations about the topics that I'm interested in, and the other people that doesn't that they're not interested in what I want to talk about, then they can talk in their channels, and that's it's really nice. And I guess in some ways, kind of the revival era of Discord was fun in its own ways, but it's like it really takes just one person like to get upset about like other players posting memes or pings. It's like it's like we'd have our basically some players kind of like talk and you know but we all have it in one channel because this was before before all the other channels that we got, and this is you know before the thing this before the tech channel, and you know before the memes and the food channel, and then it's like we'd have players where we talk about what we're doing on Minecraft and we're doing on ACO. And then there'd be other players that talk about what things are going on in their day, and probably because they aren't as active on the server, they talk about just general life or what food that they eat, that they cook or whatever, and let's just say that just kind of makes certain players angry, or it just leads to confusion with everything being in just one channel. So it's like as ACO was growing, we just had to go to a more structured Discord server, which with separate channels for basically every topic that most players should be talking about. And I definitely say I very much kind of like the current Discord as opposed to uh Discord like ACO Discord back in the revival era. That was very much kind of the Wild West era of ACO, but we're pretty much past that now. And another thing about ACO is big on is our events. And it's like as we've been growing, of course we've had Atlantis happening, but the other but of course on the side of that we would speak, you know, and of course naturally for a server events are pretty big, and that was one of the things that helped to make ACO grow from the ruins that it was in since the silent era, and of course but of course when ACO first started we had Hitman, and of course that's one of ACO's longest running events, and then we'd have the Secret Santa, and I don't remember any other events. I wasn't really around for like the pre-silent era of ACO, but from what I've heard, that was kind of mostly of what ACO's events were. But I think back in the era when Lowe's was basically taking Blue's spots. We've had a lot of events, and we've even had a mini game at Spawn that literally was kind of broken because of the command blocks being broken. And yeah, but nowadays we have of course we even have our own wither fights now, and we have uh it's like we even have events like around each holiday. Like for instance, we have like for Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and Halloween and Christmas. It's like we have our own events dedicated to those times. And of course, these now birthdays are a big deal, and like every player gets their own birthday area. And it's like nowadays every player gets a Notebox song, and I was definitely a bit of a trendsetter because of course I think I was really the first one to put a Notebox song in a birthday build, and that was Taliesin's birthday build. And then of course every other player after that wanted a Notebox song, and actually I did that. And nowadays we have more than one. And nowadays we have more than one player building Notebox songs, and yeah. So I was definitely a trendsetter in that regard. And so, I mean, it's like ACO's not even really the same server that it was when I first joined versus where it is now. It's just really something. And anyway, before this kind of turns into another rambling session, well, I guess it kind of is already, but anyway, I want to kind of get to talking about one of the areas of ACO that kind of really defines it today. And at this point, we're kind of transitioning from the revival era to, on the timeline, what's called the Unity era, which is basically the modern era of ACO. And so of course, naturally, as a community, we banded together to solve a lot of the things about the old ACO that kind of really held it back from growing and really just didn't make it very attractive to many new players. And a big part of that was Spawn and the Nether Hub. And and you know that the OG Spawn of ACO, it's definitely one of the things that really defined it. And but it had a major the major shortfall of the first Spawn is it's way bigger than it needs to be. And not even the Spawn itself, it even has there's even this entire region, like what, probably 2,000 blocks across. That's like literally goes around the entire Spawn. And it's like basically you can't build, and you have to. Of course, you can either exit by walking out, or there is that teleporter ring, and there are different teleporters like placed at different parts of the server. It's basically kind of like how on a lot of Autcraft's build worlds have the teleporters. It's more or less kind of like that. But since then, we've actually had 2 new spawns, and I'll get into why that happened shortly. But it's basically Spawn and also ACO's Nether Hub were just really showing their age by kind of by the revival period. And one of the first major community projects where that's literally like almost the entire server was involved in this was basically building a new spawn from the ground up. And of course now I can leave my portal room and I can actually go to spawn, and that's going to be the backdrop for the rest of this video. And so I'm probably going to edit in some stuff of like what the old spawn or what the first new spawn looked like. But it's basically this is basically like an island, and it originally was a mushroom island or mushroom island, and it was basically terraformed completely into. It's like basically at first we just got rid of all the mycelium by placing grass down. And then of course, as ACO does, we have our meetings, and it's another kind of thing about how community oriented ACO is. And it's like rather than have an admin team kind of make decisions on behalf of the players. It's like the players themselves get a say in how the servers run, and that's one of the ways that the players have their say in how the servers run is through our meetings, and that's how. And basically, our meetings is it's a lot of us kind of gather together at spawn, and those of us who use the Discord server, we get in a big one large Discord call, and we basically have our meeting in Discord. And it's like at first when we were smaller, that more or less like everyone got a chance to talk, but of course now that we're over 100 players, basically in meetings, like basically everyone is like urged to mute their mics unless that the time comes they get to talk. So of course, we kind of have to do that now because we're such a big community now. That's what we often have. If we're gonna have meetings, we often have calls of 20 players or more, which is just insane. And I remember back when a meeting was 5 players, if that, which is just a different time. And so basically, with spawn is, of course, after we terraform the mushroom islands or the mushroom islands, we sort of had a community like votes on how we're going to do spawn, and a lot of people we wanted different biomes, and ultimately we just decided on, or well, why not just make spawn a mix of every different biome, or just like on one island, and that's basically what we ultimately decided on, and even each player even got their own parts in designing the builds that went into spawn. And for instance, this pyramid that I'm standing in front of right now, this actually was my contribution to spawn, because of course me being one of the most influential players on the server, I really felt I needed to kind of make my mark, and that was basically the way I did it was of course building this pyramid, and the purpose of this pyramid was it was to house all of the portals, and I mean it still does today, but a lot of the portals are unused now because we have our own portal rooms for a lot of different things. Like we have a PvP arena room, a portal room, and we have a Wither arena portal room, and a special events portal room, and a farms portal room now. And but back then, but back in the revival era, or in the latter period of the revival era, we had literally all of these portals were basically used up. Like some of them were farms and some of them were for events, and I think we even began to use the portals in this top area as well. And the pyramid really got full pretty fast. And so how I actually got the inspiration for this pyramid was actually the pyramid that was in Autcraft's very first spawn. And I never actually was, like, I never joined, Autcraft soon enough to actually experience the first spawn, but of course I saw it in Autism Father's videos about the kind of the early days of Autcraft, and of course I saw the pyramid in those videos, and of course Autcraft's third spawn had a pyramid, I guess, to sort of bring back that build, and but of course, well, in the third spawn, I was very much active on Autcraft, and it's like that pyramid was. It's like I've always kind of noticed it, like going to spawn, and it's like it, you know, and and then of course when this project came about, and of course I think Blue even suggested a pyramid for the desert area, and and of course possibly as the area for the portals, and then naturally it kind of dawned on me that why not build a pyramid that takes inspiration from the pyramid on Autcraft's first spawn, and and that would be our portal area, and and that's basically what I built. And of course, I mocked this up on Autcraft Creative, and of course, naturally, I make a schematic using Lightmatica, and of course, back then ACO didn't actually have any sort of rules in place governing like what mods players are allowed to use, and actually, if anything, like before the Silent Era, ACO was quite strict on its rules, and I mean, in fact, it was like very much. Well, it's basically like ACO had the Constitution back then, and it was literally like an entire, probably 2, 3 whole pages of stuff, and it was like very much like AC in terms of the rules, and of course when ACO fell silent, that it's like no, it's like those rules very much didn't get enforced, and anarchy is a harsh word, but ACO didn't really, basically it didn't really have rules anymore, and of course everyone says rules are only as good as their enforcement, and basically if rules don't get enforced, they might as well not even exist. So that's just more or less what happened there. And but of course in kind of the Spawn project, Blue approved the use of Lightmatica for for new builds, but later on, AF just made this rule that you're not allowed to copy other players' builds using Lightmatica, and I have no idea what actually drove him, like what the driving move was for that, but uh I mean, generally as a player, I don't copy other people's builds, I just design my own. And if I am to copy anything from other players, it would mostly just be redstone or farms. And because, like, basically, This is how I am about redstone. Is I'm just like if there's a design that's just been perfected that many people use, I don't mind just copying that design. And in a lot of ways, I'm just kind of I don't mean to go. I don't mean to go from the subject, but you know. So basically, that pyramid that was my contribution to the Spawn project. And as for the rest of like when I finished my part, basically, naturally I go off to see what the other players are doing, and of course, and then I just sort of helped out. I think I remember helping out with some of the terraforming, and I helped out like wherever I could, and and another thing that's wild about the spawn build is like Blue was expecting it like probably to take like a couple of months to complete it, but you know, but it's like we were able to get the majority of the spawn finished within like 2 weeks, and by the first month it was already done. And it really kind of shows if you get an entire server to contribute to build to a project and just kind of do their own parts, and this kind of goes to show just how quickly things can get done if players work together as a team. And of course, speaking of team, ACO has of course we have our build teams, or we don't have a build team per se, but we have an events team and a birthday builds team and a farm team now. And you know, and for a growing community, teams are a good thing. And it's like it helps us get things done. And of course, rather than and it lets the players have their say in how the server is run, which is really what sets ACO apart from Autcraft. And of course, that's also how ACO is to be going forward into the future, which is just really it's really kind of what sold ACO for me. And so basically when spawn got finished, this was our spawn for like the next many months, or probably like the next year. And of course, every now and again there'd be times where when updates rolled around, uh us the players would be allowed to add things to spawn. But once spawn was finished, a Blue put the protection where no one really is allowed to break blocks except players that have permissions to do so. But then we fast forward to, I don't exactly remember when this was. I'd have to look at my other YouTube videos to kind of remember the dates, but it was a few months back, or it was actually probably probably the beginning of this year. I think probably October or November of 2019. No, I'm just kind of guessing there, but there was this unfortunate incident where the server had updated. I think one of the plugins updated, and there was some kind of freak accident where just one of the plugins updated to some kind of unstable version, and for some reason or another, the server for a moment rolled back to like an older version of Minecraft, like probably some 1.14 version, like one of the versions of 1.14 that was unstable. And then what happened was, of course, since spawn was one of the first chunks to be loaded when the server restarted, what happened is basically spawn got loaded in that version, and for some reason or another, I don't quite understand, or I don't really know how it works, but spawn basically got reverted back to the state it was in before it was built, which was the Mushroom Islands. And yeah, that was pretty much the end of that spawn. And and it was pretty traumatic for a lot of players because, you know, of course, spawn means a lot to a lot of people. It's like when players go to different areas of the server, or to or like when you first join, like spawn is what you first see, and you know, and it's like where a lot of the different areas are for any server, and and then for spawns to basically get deleted, that's especially for the players that actually put actual effort into a build for spawn, for it to literally get wiped out and just in one just overnight. That's like literally for it to vanish overnight. It's a big deal, and especially for a lot of players, this was a big shock. And even ironically enough, this was even after and one thing we lost in that incident was basically that bee farm that Doc M built when he visited the server, and to this day that's still missing, and it never got rebuilt. And it's gonna be kind of an interesting story when Doc M actually visits ACO again. We're gonna be like, that your build kind of got deleted, and it was our fault. Our server didn't have a backup, and that's the other reason we lost it. Also our backups. Our backup solution just wasn't really good. But of course, after that happened, I finally got on it, fixed the, and of course I actually fixed that, and now we finally have a good backup solution. But of course, it's to happen after the barn door is left open and the animals run out. And, it's kind of how a lot of things go, but at least now that can't happen again. And, so then basically what's to happen from then on is, of course, the videos of this is still on my channel today, but we had this big meeting, and of course, and it happened in the Nether Hub because we didn't have a spawn anymore, and for a little while the Nether Hub actually became our spawn, and basically, so the we had a unanimous vote where basically everyone in the meeting had a say in this, and the decision was to recreate spawn to the best of our abilities based on either like if we like YouTube videos uh or if people have schematics of builds, and it just literally we'd recreate spawn how spawn originally was to the very best of our ability, and or we would build a new spawn from scratch, but we'd still try to keep at least a few things the same. We'd still bring enough things back so from the old spawn that it would more or less resemble old spawn, but it would have a lot of new things added into it. And because ACO has grown a lot since the first spawn, the second spawn was made. Of course, that's the vote that actually passed, and but I'm at least very happy. I'm at least happy with the spawn that we got by the end of it, and of course, what's stayed the same is we kept the original Player of the Month building, and we kept the pyramid, and of course we kept that, and we kept that building, we kept the pyramid, and we also kept this build here, which is basically the jails or the timeout rooms, and we also kept the post office, although it's a different it's basically a different building now, but we said that's still there. And but then in addition, we have like the only thing that's really missing is the pirate ship, and perhaps maybe the next player of the month I might suggest possibly bringing that back, but I mean, what spawn that spawn now has is the Mesa area actually has stuff in it, like this is kind of like for, of course, this is like the history museum, like this is like, of course we have the timeline here, and you know, I mean, of course there's a lot of the stuff in here, and this is. And Taliesin actually made this entire map. Like he actually flew around on Elytra just to make this map, which is pretty insane when you think about it. And of course we still have the mine shaft, and this is what's really cool. It's like we still more or less got the same spawn back, but we also had, of course, but at the same time, it was also reinvented. So, and you know, and of course, how the second spawn well, this is spawn 2.5 that we call it, and of course we even had, like, of course, as we do, we have had a Discord channel that's where we basically everyone talks about what things to add to spawn, like as this new spawn is getting built. And of course, naturally, even after I built the pyramid, I really wanted to have a say in other areas of spawn. And I just, when I suggested what I wanted to add to spawn, I was really in the mindset of like usability, like accessibility and usability, and basically just like ease of transportation. And like that was the mindset I was in. But the problem it was that Taliesin, who was kind of the leader of the project, and the majority of the other players, they were more in the mindset of what looks the best. And it's like most people are more concerned about appearance than like ease of use and transportation. And it's like the original, like the second spawn had like a tunnel that like went underneath where the month building. That was like literally, like if you just wanted to go to the post office, you could basically go from the pyramid, and then you just run directly through this tunnel that would go straight to the post office. And I really wanted that added back in. I even wanted ice boat roads added, so to make like basically say if you wanted to go all the way to that end of spawn, you could just hop in an ice boat and be there in 10 seconds. But of course, how that went down is most of the community basically just, you know, they just wanted a nice looking spawn, and basically all we got are just the paths that lead to different areas. And just my point was to say, if I were to go from, or so I'm actually going to time this, so say I wanted to go to the post office from this portal. And of course, those who are watching the video, you could watch the time on the video, but I'm gonna run from spawn to the post office as fast as I can. And of course, maybe in the editing I'll put the time in, but here we go. Ready, set, go. And here we are finally. And because because I don't really go to the post office that often. It seems like there's actually a path that I keep missing. No, I didn't. I actually went on. I actually did follow the pass, but is it just me, or did that take or did that take like close to a minute? And like, of course blue is like, well, it's only 30 seconds. It's no big deal. But it's, like if you're gonna like say if you actually have your like if you use the post office, like if that's where, you know, and it's like especially in this era where ACO is like a lot busier than it ever was. And and if you have mail probably like 5 times a week, and it's like it's basically if you have to go to the post office like once every day, you know, like it's like just suddenly 40 seconds or whatever just doesn't kind of feel slow. And you know it's like if you have to do it very often. And and it just I really pushed for a tunnel system. And after that was not in the community's favor, I also pushed for beacons and having speed beacons everywhere on the islands, or at least in enough areas that you can have speed throughout the islands. And but even that was not in everyone's favor. And I don't know if it's just me, but because Taliesin was the leader of the Spawn projects, it just seemed like to me he had more say in it than everybody else did. And just because this is his projects. And and it just me and him have like vastly different play styles. And of course we view the game differently. And of course since I like my automation, and I like to have I like to have more conveniences in Minecraft, and I'm more concerned about convenience. But of course, Telly is more concerned about the looks of a build. And and it's like literally just adding beacons. He goes, well, that's just gonna look ugly. And and then it's like I'm like, well, big deal. Just adding 4 beacons to spawn, that's not gonna make it look ugly. And and it's like literally you could just incorporate them into the damn build. And so let's just say I pushed for these things so hard that it even led to causing a lot of drama in that channel. And it's just, let's just say that was kind of a bad experience. And kind of as a result of that, I kind of that made me lose a lot of confidence in being on community, like actually kind of being on build teams, or just any sort of team. And let's just say also that kind of affected my like sort of how I get, and let's just say that also kind of affected my relationship with Telly a little bit, but we're not enemies per se, but it's like we're sort of, it's like where we have two completely different play styles and our lives are just totally different, like as in, it's like literally comparing, like if comparing me to Telly is basically comparing apples to oranges. Like we're totally different. And it's like we're so different that it's like we view the game in two completely different ways. And it's like it's as if Telly is in a completely different universe than where I live. And it's like we're not in the same universe. That's how different we are. And it's, and I mean, like we don't, like we still are peaceful to one another for the most part, but let's just say we're so different that that's hard. It's like that we struggle to settle upon agreements between like what I want and what he wants. Let's just put it that way. And you know, and this video is kind of running on long, and I want to talk about the Nether Hub next, but since it's kind of a long video, I figured I'm gonna stop it here, and the next video will be about the Nether Hub. And I guess just to end this off on a good note, I am very much happy with how this new Outhouse spawn turned out. It's I mean, it's definitely one of the highlights of this of ACO. So anyway, so basically, that's basically the ACO spawn in a nutshell. And we'll, there's one more thing I want to go talk about, and I feel like this actually kind of makes it up to me for that thing that like the tunnels and the beacons that I wanted to contribute to spawn, but I wasn't able to. I was able to contribute this, which is basically a fireworks show, just like what the spawn in Autcraft has. And this was entirely my work. Like I put several hours into building this, and it's like part of it was getting the redstone working, but the other half of it was actually putting time into making it look pretty like it does right now. And because much like the fireworks in Autcraft's fourth spawn, I wanted the redstone to be open to the public, so so it's like, I actually wanted it so players who saw the fireworks show could actually get a behind the scenes look at what actually made it happen. And I mean, I do like to teach other players about redstone, and this also is perhaps an opportunity for new players to learn about redstone. So I pretty much not only made it open to the public, but I put up all these signs explaining how everything works. And of course, I'll give you guys an opportunity to pause the video so you can read the signs. I'm definitely very much proud of this build, I really am. And I mean, I can't wait for the next fireworks show. Actually, since I've completed this, like the last time this saw action was on the 4th of July. And of course, that was before the show was actually finished, and now it's finished. And of course, getting to build that, it really made me feel better about, it's like you know, it's like when you want to, like when you have a really good idea and you want to have a say, but you don't get a say, it's just you feel defeated. And that's just kind of how I felt when of course I didn't get my say and adding the tunnels and the beacons to spawn. And of course, getting to build that firework area at least kind of made it up to me, and it's like I at least got to contribute on another thing that's redstone related to spawn, which is kind of really made it up to me. And we're gonna at least that'll at least end this video off in a good note. And of course, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video, even if it was a little bit rambly. And stay tuned for the next episode to come. And remember to rate, comment, like, and subscribe. And this is Dusty Circuit signing off. Peace out.